the first step is learning the basics of HTML. You'll want to open up your Atom text editor, which is used to the sort of back end or the the coding developer side of your web pages. So I've gone ahead and downloaded that, and once you open up, there'll be several prompts. You can say OK to those. There'll be like a menu with several tabs up here. You pretty much want to get your screen to just look like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. This will be our first HTML page. I'm just going to do some demonstration on here for now, but a important tip is that as you develop, you'll want to save your work. Everything, including external hard copies of files that you're going to link to, or movies, or other sort of data that you have, not necessarily links to other documents online, all in one folder. And the reason is because as soon as you start doing some linking, you'll find out that there's links to services that are already hosted online. So that would be like a URL that you type in. And there's also sort of links to the source in the directory. So unless you specifically say what directory it's in, it's going to assume it's in the same directory as the same web page. So we'll go ahead and save this as I'll just call it ZROS. I encourage you to maybe use your first initial last name, because you'll compress this whole thing and send it in for submission later on. I'm going to save it to my desktop because I see it's what I'll be currently working on. So this is the new folder. Oh, excuse me. The name of the new folder I encourage you to call your first initial last name, and then save it as index.html. Now, anytime we use the index, that's usually the main page. So when you go to a website, could be porters.org, for example, it's going to go to that index page because that's the sort of primary landing page. That's sort of the understanding of what you would call the index. So I encourage you we'll practice that by writing index.html, and then we know it's a document because it has this .html, which indicates right away, you'll notice that as soon as I hit save, that it gives this HTML5 logo up here, and it recognizes that I've saved it. This is the project where it's located. I've saved that index file underneath the folder ZROS, and it's of the file type HTML. So everything I'll write in here will be web code, which includes hypertext markup language, that's HTML, CSS, cascading style sheets, or possibly JavaScript. So this will be all HTML. So the structure of an HTML tag looks something like this. So in the example, you have something, okay. Now we have this element, and we have this beginning tag that indicates that it is the start of something, and you'll learn. You'll become more proficient at understanding. It's almost like learning a language. Like you start to understand what each word means, and in the same sense, you'll learn what each tag means. B stands for bold. Okay, so this word something, this text, will be bold, and then we have the ending tag here indicated by this slash and then the B again. So it's almost like a sandwich. Everything that's in between these two tags has whatever the tag is applied to it. So we have bold, and then if we say, sometimes we can specify saying like the style of this element should be and this is where I'm kind of jumping ahead and doing some CSS, is like background color blue, for example. we have this attribute here. So this is like in addition to the tag, some sort of specifics that can be included. And again, from the beginning tag to the ending of that tag, everything in between will have that applied to it. So we can actually take a look at this right away. I'm going to go into my Zeros folder. Oh, did it not save? Let's try that again. Oh, I accidentally saved it to the desktop. Here we have index.html. So I see that the Chrome icon's on there. So as soon as I double click on this, by default, it'll open up in my Chrome browser. And this is what it looks like right now. Now there's a lot missing to it, but you'll notice that this does show up. So right now we have the Atom editor, and then here we have sort of the front end, what a web surfer or user of the internet would see if they went to your web page, is we have something in bold, and then with the blue background. So I'm going to get rid of this. But on the instructions there, you'll see that there's a few other tags, including I, which will italicize text, U, which will underline it, P, which creates a paragraph, H1, which is the main header of the page. So you can write, it gives you an example of the following code, and you can actually just copy and paste that. So I'm going to copy and paste that in here just to try it out for now. And one thing I should mention here is anytime we have like a nested statement, so here this is called, the UL is an unordered list, and then this is the end of the unordered list, and each one of these are the list items in the list. Okay, so each one of these list items has the unordered list applied to it. So we actually call this the child, and we call this the parent. Okay, so the more of a parent it is, the more it should be on the left over here, and the more of a child it is, the more it is to be to the right. So if I had an element that was sort of nested in this, I would indent it by 2 spaces. So as good practice, you'll see as we work along, we'll want to indent that. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and you can kind of guess what a this page might look like. So go ahead and open this up. And here we go. Okay, item 1, 2, 3, unordered list, which means bullet points. So that's how that works. Now you notice that anytime I change something, a blue sort of circle dot shows up there, and if I hit a shortcut key is Command S, but I could go to the file, save. That blue dot goes away. This is an indicator that you are saving your work as you move along. So try some of those HTML tags. Know that there's a large resources that's linked. I encourage you to use W3 Schools, type in HTML, and kind of explore around on your own. Look at what you might want to do. Do you want to write a paragraph? Do you want it to be italicized? Do you want it to be bold? Do you want to create a list? And so on. Look at what it is that you want to do with your HTML. See if you can't just search that and then play around with the tags. Again, the opening tag and closing tag being this indicator with the slash inside of the ending tag. So take a look at that. If for any reason your color so one thing that's really important is once I save this as a .html file, the color coding shows up in Atom, so it indicates that like the closing and opening tags both have the color like light blue, and then sort of the text elements are white. You'll notice that as I continue to add, it kind of gives some nice color coding to help me pick out any bugs and just make sure my coding looks clean. So go ahead and explore that for this first step.